Hello, Year 6 geographers. Welcome to Lesson 3. We have got another lesson on our volcanoes with a different focus when we get through to the lesson. You're going to need a pencil and a paper, and there is a lot of knowledge today to fill you with. So let's begin. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to give you quite a bit of information. It'll be on the website as well, so you can always come back to it or pause the video. And over the next few slides, we are going to learn a lot more about volcanoes and retrieve some of that information in order to create our own glossary about volcanoes. And glossary, if you remember correctly, is a mini dictionary. So at the end, your job will be to match the meanings to the volcanic terminology that I have on the right-hand side here. You can make a note of these words, stop the video, make a note of the words so that you can fill them in as you go along, or you can wait to the end and see if you can match them correctly. Some are quite easy, some are a little bit trickier. So up to you. But the words we're going to have a look for: mantle, magma, volcano, active, pumice, lava, eruption, extinct, crust, dormant, core and ash. And I promise you, you will find all of these words in the coming slides. So let's go. Okay, just a quick recap on what we were doing last week, because some of these words are going to be in our glossary. So we've got the layers of the earth. We've got the mantle, which sits between the crust and the core, approximately 2,897 kilometers thick and made of a solid rocky substance called molten rock or magma, depending on its temperature. It will either be a rock or it will either be a liquid form. And so this is what escapes when a volcano erupts. We have the outer core moving across the side, which is the liquid layer made from molten iron and nickel, so metal instead of rock this time. Liquid metal creates the Earth's magnetic field. I'll go down to the crust now, which is the outer layer of the Earth or the surface, and the thickness varies from 0 to 60 kilometers. It's not even, and it's made up of pieces which overlap to cover the entire planet. These pieces are called tectonic plates. There's a little bit more information about tectonic plates a little bit later in this presentation. The inner core is our solid layer made of iron and nickel, and it's the hottest part of the Earth, same temperature as the sun, reaching temperatures of 5,500 degrees Celsius. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, we have got a part of the world here which is named the Ring of Fire, and as you can see, it's quite a large area. It covers the Pacific Ocean and all of the continents around it. There are five continents around the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. It's shaped like a horseshoe, and this is where most of the volcanic and earthquake activity in the world happens. 90% of the world's earthquakes happen in the Ring of Fire, along with being home to 75% of the world's volcanoes. Okay, so within this area, there is a string of 452 volcanoes which stretch from the southern tip of South America, and that's right down the bottom there on the right, all the way up to the north coast of America. And then down via Japan and into New Zealand. And so these areas are areas that tend to get a lot of earthquakes as well. So let's keep moving on now and have a little bit of a look at how volcanoes are formed. So we know that it's extremely hot down deep inside the Earth, and that the rock actually melts to form the magma, and that magma makes up the mantle of the Earth just below us on the crust. The upper mantle mixes and moves quite a lot, and that movement creates pressure underneath the crust. This pressure can sometimes cause the mantle to leak out onto the surface through a vent, which is called a volcano. Okay, during an eruption, the gases, the magma, the ash, which are the tiny fragments of rock, expelled from the vent, sometimes slowly, sometimes rather violently. And as the magma or the molten rock or lava cools, it becomes lava and flows more slowly out of the vent. And eventually, over time, that will harden to become another type of rock called pumice. Over time, as this keeps on happening, as the magma leaks out, the rock will build up around the side, and that's how the volcanoes will be formed. Sometimes complete islands can be formed from the ocean, and that is due to volcanic eruptions as well. Okay, let's have a look at the three stages of volcanoes. We have active volcanoes where they have once erupted and a possibility that they will erupt again, and there are lots of active volcanoes still located and erupting all around the world. We have our dormant volcanoes where they have erupted before, but not for a very long time. They may still erupt in the future, and if we can remember from earlier in the week that the word dormant is another word for sleeping. It comes from a Latin term of dormare. Extinct volcanoes are not believed to ever erupt again, although they have got the word probably right at the bottom there. But an extinct volcano is not likely to erupt again. Okay, so why do they erupt? We know that the Earth's crust is made up of huge slabs, or like a jigsaw puzzle of plates called tectonic plates. There are 17 of these altogether, 17 major plates around the world, and they move and shift. The movement of these tectonic plates causes friction, which causes earthquakes and volcanic eruptions near the edge of the plate. The theory that explains this process is called plate tectonics, and this means that the plates are moving in different directions and at different speeds. Sometimes they can collide, sometimes that might also be called they can converge, which means they come together, or brush past each other, and the result of that is earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. On the other hand, they can separate as well, or they can diverge away from each other, which is when we get our trenches. So these plates move and shift all the time, and there's always lots of volcanic activity happening underneath our surface that we don't often realize. Okay, friction, if you can remember, is the resistance created when one surface rubs against one another and is often very hot. Okay, so the different parts of our volcano, we have our ash cloud at the top there, and that is where we have parts of the smaller parts of the magma that are coming out and carried off by the Earth's atmosphere. We've got the crater at the top. The magma comes out of a vent. The conduit is the channel in which the magma flows up from that magma reservoir down the bottom, through the throat and out of the vent. It's also sometimes called the mouth. Over to the side, we have a secondary vent there, so another place where the magma is trying to escape. The volcanoes can have more than one vent, and we'll have a look at the different types of volcanoes in a moment. Okay, there are more than 1,500 active volcanoes on Earth, and there are almost more than 80 volcanoes under the ocean, and these are only the ones that have been discovered. There might be a lot more than that. Let's have a quick look at the types of volcanoes that we have. We have the most exciting ones, the composite or stratovolcanoes, which are your steep-sided volcanoes made up of lots of layers of rock that have built up over time. They usually erupt in an explosive way because the magma inside these volcanoes is quite sticky. It clogs up the passage as it goes through, making it harder to pass, therefore building up more pressure inside the volcanic chamber and resulting in what could be a very violent volcanic eruption. There's been some volcanoes, I think Vesuvius, when it erupted all the way back in I think 64-5 AD, the entire top of the volcano blew off when that exploded because of all of that pressure. Okay, we also have our cinder cone volcanoes, which are circular, giving them the cone-like name, made up of small fragments of lava which are blown into the air through a single vent, and when they cool they form the rock around the vents. They grow quickly but are not usually very big and not usually dangerous either. And our shield volcanoes, like the ones we learnt about in our first video about Hawaii, the most common in that part of the world, and they're bowl-shaped in size in the middle. The lava flows out quite runny and when they erupt, and it travels long distances down the side before it cools down. Lava forms long, gentle slopes that look like a warrior's shield, which is how they got their name. These volcanoes do not often explode. Okay, and these volcanoes can form islands over time, so they're coming up from the ocean as well. Okay, a few more quick facts for you. So molten, the difference between magma and lava. Lava is outside of the volcano, magma is inside the volcano, and lava is not a good heat conductor, and it cools down as it flows. The pyroclastic flow, which is that gigantic ash cloud that comes out that sometimes can go up into the air, it can sometimes rumble down the side of the volcano. It is the most deadly of all volcanic activity. A liquidized mixture of solid and part solid fragments and hot expanding gases which are toxic and poisonous and will kill people. It is believed that the people of Pompeii, we've talked a little bit about this in class. It wasn't the volcano, the eruption that killed them, it was the release of the pyroclastic gases that wiped out the town before Vesuvius even, before the lava even started to flow. This can look like a snow avalanche. It's extremely hot, poisonous, and can move at the speed of a hurricane. Quite amazing. Would not want to be near a pyroclastic flow, that is for sure. Okay, so the task that you've got to do today, you might want to pause on this after I finish speaking and just have a really good look. You might have made some notes as we went along. We have gone through all of those terms, but there's a definition to match each one of those words. So what you need to do now is stop and have a look at this. Have a good read through these and see if you can match them up. When you have done that, come back, press play, and we will go through the answers together. There will also be a copy of the answers at the bottom if you are stuck. Okay, so yeah, good luck. Okay, here we go. Here are the answers. How did you get on? Did you retrieve the right information as you went? So we've got the mantle, which is the layer between the crust and the outer core. Magma is the molten liquid rock beneath the Earth's surface. A volcano is a vent in the Earth's surface from which lava and gases pour. That is the volcano, the vent from the Earth. Active volcanoes that have erupted recently. The pumice was the light volcanic rock formed when the lava cools. Lava is the rock flowing from the vent of a volcano during an eruption. An eruption is the process in which the solids, liquids and gases are expelled through the vent in the Earth's surface. Extinct volcanoes haven't erupted recently and not expected to erupt again. Our crust is the rocky outer layer of Earth, also known as the surface. A dormant volcano has not erupted recently but could erupt again. We know that the core is the very centre of the Earth, made of nickel and iron, and that ash are the tiny pieces of lava blasted into the air during a volcanic eruption and can almost look like smoke and cloud. So I hope you got on well with that one. The information is going to be really useful for the piece of writing that you're going to do, which is all about volcanoes. So I look forward to seeing you for the next lesson when we're going to have a little bit of practice of punctuation and sentence building before we write our report. Enjoy, have a good day, bye.